Miles Henson on 93.7 Express FM. Every Thursday, every week.
It's not a bad way to start the show. 50 ways to say goodbye. That's Train and Black Eyed Peas, I Got a Feeling. This is Express FM Thursday night with me, Miles Henson. Business Express as usual. Hey, you've had a good week in the sunshine. So delighted to say, we've been trying to get them on for such a long time that we're joined in the studio by Ferrar and Lillian Hosea. Good evening.
Hi.
Good evening.
How are you two?
Good,
Very well,
thank you.
Yeah, very, very, very excited about tonight. I mean, we have some fantastic guests on this show, but I think this is going to be interesting. Now, I know you're here to talk about something exciting in a business tool called I Get You, which we'll come to in a second. But if I could just ask you guys just to start with, just to tell us a little bit about yourself. So, Phil, if I could come to you first.
Yeah, I work a lot with senior teams, boards of directors, really looking at the way they work together, how well they work together, how dysfunctional they can be a lot of the time. And it's right what you said, the Gallup research shows that one of the main reasons, if not the main reason, why people leave a job is because of the manager. And that can work right the way through an organisation. And it's one of the things that we're dealing with and working with on a regular basis is to improve that.
Right. Yeah. And you're a director of a business called Momenta.
That's right.
Yeah, so tell us a bit about that, if you would, Phil.
Well, Momenta Performance Academy is part of the Momenta Group. It's quite a large organisation. It's worked with lots of organisations in lots of different sectors in UK and Europe. And just to give an example, we've coached between us over 5,000 people over the last few years. So coaching is one of the things that we do a lot of, basically.
Okay. Lillian, welcome.
Hi.
You're also a director of Momenta Performance Academy. So a little bit about you. I know you're near Silverstone and you've got 3 young children and a husband, but apart from that, we know very little about you. So tell us about you.
Oh, well, I've worked with Phil for far too long than I care to mention in the same business, looking at slightly different aspects of business. So I look at change. Lots of organisations go through transformation, and that means getting people to do things differently, which sometimes can feel a bit like herding cats. And we work alongside organisations to help change people's way of doing things, their ways of working, and improve their skills and capability in the business. So I tend to look at business from a different angle.
Okay. And you don't just work in the UK, guys. You work globally as well. Is that right, Phil?
Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
With organisations all over the world doing the same sort of thing. All about change and communication and developing teams? Well,
it's a common theme around the world. So, for instance, the Gallup research emanates from the States, and they surveyed 1 million people as to why did they leave their job. And I think, whilst there are cultural differences, it's pretty much the same the world over in terms of leadership, management, and the sort of issues and problems that you can encounter around that. And that's certainly some of the work that we do, for instance, translates really well into China, where behaviour is behaviour. Behaviour at work, whilst there may be cultural norms, it's still human behaviour when it comes down to it.
Okay. Now I know we're going to get into this groundbreaking tool that you want to talk about, and I've seen a bit of it, and it looks fantastic. But is this really true then? Do people leave managers, not jobs?
Absolutely.
What's all that about then?
Well, you only have to sit in a coffee shop and listen to people talking, and what they complain about is their boss, not about the organisation, not about what they do every day. It's the person who's working with them most closely, and the relationship between those two people is absolutely key. And if it doesn't work, then people vote with their feet. Okay,
so they're literally leaving their boss, they're not leaving the organisation. And that's a big loss for the organisation, I guess, isn't it? Because does that mean that they're not managing the managers as well?
It could be, or it could be that they're not developing the managers. So managing people is a skill that sometimes people just have to learn over years. Some organisations spend a lot of time and energy developing their managers. But if you get it wrong, you can get it disastrously wrong.
Right.
And if you get it right, you can inspire people, and people will go on to work with organisations for a long, long time. So getting it right and not leaving it down to trial and error is what we're trying to do.
One of the common problems, I think, is that managers start by managing processes and managing projects and things, and if they're not careful, that's what they do with people. So you become a process that they're managing, a thing that they're managing.
Right.
And I think one of the common faults is when they treat everyone pretty much the same, or at least they don't go into into leadership and into management with conscious thought about the person or people that they're actually managing.
Right, so they're literally turning the people into a process and getting them to deliver whatever task it is with any thought for style, communication.
Yeah, or they're promoted because they were good at what they did.
Right.
So they were an expert in their field.
So you see that a lot in sales, don't you?
Absolutely.
See lots of salespeople get promoted to sales managers. Yeah. Okay.
So do it the way I did it because it was right for me, therefore it's exactly right for all of you.
Right, okay. And I've seen in the sporting world lots of football managers make that big mistake as well because they were world-class players, all of a sudden they become managers and they're no longer good managers. It's interesting. Okay, so we're going to talk about I Get You, which is why we're here tonight. It's a new product that you're launching. We're going to come to I'd like to find out a little bit more about the concept and the background and where that came from. But let's play some music first.
Bringing local people and local businesses together. This is the most relevant business show in the South. Business Express.
Let's have The Wanted Show with This Is Walks Like Rihanna on Express, Thursday 18th of July. Good evening, welcome to the show. That's The Wanted, Walks Like Rihanna. This evening, delighted to say we're joined by Ferrar and Lillian Hosea from Momentum Performance Academy here to talk about Get You. So I know, guys, that you've created this new business tool which is unique and groundbreaking. And it's we're talking off air, it's about helping effectiveness of managers, it's about helping salespeople do better jobs, it's about helping people communicate more effectively together. Yeah. So what prompted this? Where did this idea come from?
Well, we run this program called Knowing Me, Knowing You. Yes, indeed. I think it's a very successful program. Although it's a cheesy name, but it actually describes what it does. So it's about raising self-awareness, knowing me, and helping people understand how they impact on other people. So helping managers recognise the way they are, the way they tend to be. And then the other part, and this is the key, is understanding the other person and what works for them, what doesn't work for them. So that's the knowing you part. So it's helping managers recognise that everyone's different. You know, they're not all the same. You can't process them as if they're all the same. They're all automatons. And understanding that for different people, you need different approaches, different tactics, and so on. Now it's a great program. We still run it, but what we found over the last year is clients are reluctant to spend a lot of money on courses. So, for example, one client, a major client, spent £1 million last year just on travel expenses and hotels to get people to courses.
Goodness me.
And yeah, exactly.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And that's without the training. So, they don't want to spend that sort of money anymore. So they're trying to find ways to cut that out. And things like e-learning, to sit at a desktop, a screen, doing learning when that's what you do most of the day anyway, it can be pretty boring and pretty inspirational. So we're trying to find other ways of actually getting this knowing me, knowing you concept across.
So is the world, your world of teaching and training and coaching, is it changing then? Is social media playing a part in that? Is it becoming a different place to work in?
Well, it has to. Is the answer. All you have to do is walk down the street and look at what people are doing. They're using their mobile phones. When my kids come home from school after being with their friends all day, the first thing they do is they get on their phones, they get onto their iPad, and they start communicating with people. That's becoming the way that people want to access information but also communicate with others. So we thought, okay, well, if that's the way people are going, that's the way people are learning and taking in information, then maybe there's something here that says, that's the vehicle that we should use to start imparting what we do. So
you have this successful event that is called Know Me, Knowing You, which is about understanding yourself and also understanding other people.
Yeah.
So what do you do with that then? Does it kind of stop there, or is there something tactical that you do with that? Well, or is that what this tool's about?
That's what the tool is about, taking that knowledge, that experience, if you like, and giving it to people 24/7 on a mobile device, so they've got instant access to it, and instant answers and instant tactics. So, for instance, you could sit in a reception area waiting to see a key client, and you can actually profile that customer, that key client, in a couple of minutes, and it will give you specific tips and tactics on how to deal with that particular individual in that meeting.
All on your phone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that was the concept we were trying to get. So it's learning, but learning right here, right now, not going on a course and then waiting for 2 months before you actually have the opportunity to apply it, by which time a lot of it's forgotten.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just to simplify that, then, forgive me for doing this. So I'm a sales guy.
Yep.
I'm sat in my car about to go and see a customer.
Yep.
So what I think you're saying to me is, using this tool, which we'll get into in a bit more detail in a moment, is I can profile the customer that I'm about to see based on the fact that I've maybe spoken to them a couple of times or something like that.
Or maybe you've met them once before. Or
Okay. And that there's some stuff, profiling goes on. And then just explain to me again, so what then do I do with it? It allows me then it gives me guidance or some tactics on for dealing with that customer.
Well, you decide what situation you're meeting the client for. So maybe it's the first meeting, maybe you're going to negotiate, maybe you're going to present to the client, maybe you're going to get some more information. And I get you says, all right, let's take this down to specifics. What exactly are you doing in this meeting? And then when you've done that, it says, okay, well, we know what you're going to do. We know a bit about this person. Let's give you some hints and tips about how you handle yourself in order to get the best out of that meeting for this particular situation.
Okay, so it's not teaching you how to sell, and it's not giving you the sales process. It's giving you the tactics for dealing with that individual, or making you aware of who you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
Well, we hope so.
And the point is, you get it instantly. You've got it there at any point in which you want it.
Okay,
that's what differentiates it really from, for instance, going online and Googling how do I negotiate. If you go on and there's loads of stuff you can get on negotiating on Google, for instance, but it's generic. It's vanilla. It's the same, pretty much the same approach, regardless of the individual. And from our experience, the point is, you need to know the individual, need to understand the individual, what works with them and what doesn't.
Right.
So some conscious thought about that individual before you go into that situation is really where you want to start.
Because I have limited experience of psychometrics, but I'm guessing most psychometrics just focus, when you do these tests, they focus on you, don't they? But what you're saying is, this is not just about you. This is helping you with the person that you're communicating with.
Absolutely. So, sorry to go technical on you, but technically this isn't a psychometric, because a psychometric is about you as the individual based on thousands and thousands of tests that have been done around the world and benchmarking you against other people with similar characteristics. This is an estimator. This is saying, don't think about you, think about the person you're going to deal with, and get a snapshot of them so that you can start to think about how you adapt what you do, which is something, actually, if you think about it, we do naturally as individuals anyway.
Right.
So if I'm different with my friends that I do exercise with to my mother-in-law. I'm different to my boss as I am to colleagues. We do things differently, instinctively, socially. You talk differently to your mate down the pub, or the guy you play cricket with, than you do somebody at work. You instinctively do that. This is taking it into a business context,
and it's giving you, I guess, ultimately, it's giving you a better opportunity, a better chance of whatever you're trying to do with that individual, because it's giving you the tactics.
Absolutely.
Well, one of the things we tend to do, I believe, and I've done this, we all do it, is you go into a situation like you're managing someone, you're about to do their appraisal. We actually overheard. We had the dubious pleasure of. Do you want to tell that story?
So Phil and I live about an hour away from each other. So if we need to work together, we meet up in a local hotel that's halfway between our houses. And just before Christmas, on a very cold winter's day, we were working in a lobby in this hotel, and the guy 5 feet away from us was clearly a national sales manager of a company, and he was doing the annual appraisals of his regional managers in a hotel lobby, where we could hear every word. And on the hour, every hour, his regional managers came in, and every conversation started the same was the same in the middle, and was the same at the end.
So it was this process thing that Phil was talking about.
Absolutely. It was like a sausage machine. And, and actually, by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, when the next guy came in, we actually put our heads in our hands and went, oh no, this poor fool's going to, he's going to get it done to him again.
Right.
And the point was, the individual got nothing out of it, didn't get any value out of it. And actually, the organisation didn't get any value out of it. It was a complete waste of time. They didn't get any coaching. They didn't get any idea about how they could improve. I'm not actually sure they got a good sense about whether they were good, bad or ugly, to be honest.
So they literally, it was done to them, they left, and they thought there's no value in that at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
Yeah, and the guy was doing it in a style which obviously suited him. And he wasn't thinking about the very different
ticking
people
the boxes.
that he was seeing.
I've got all my information. I've got my forms
So-
out in front of me. I've done all my preparation.
Right, so there was lots of knowing me, but not knowing you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Do you see what I did there?
Oh,
clever.
very good.
Okay. 93. Never let it be said we don't do cheese on Express FM. Cheesy link, no me, no you, ABBA. So this is getting interesting. So, Lillian, if I could come to you, so the product is called I Get You Pro.
Yep.
And it's a device, or it's a tool that can be on your iPhone, your Android, your iPad, etc. Other devices are available, of course.
Yep.
So just talk me through the basics. How does it actually work? What do you actually do to use this thing?
Okay, so the first thing is you need to give I Get You some information about the person that you want to focus on. And
Right.
you do that by answering 16 very simple questions. Takes about a minute and a half, 2 minutes to do.
Okay.
And once you've done that, I Get You presents you with a profile of the character in a quite a funky, interesting, funny way. So give the character a memorable name. So, for instance, the Determinator or the Calculator or the Counsellor or the Host
Okay.
or the Adventurer. And then you can do two things to check that you've kind of summed up this person right. So the first thing that you can do is look at a video, which is a cartoon-based video, which in about a minute and a half summarises the key characteristics.
And that's literally on your phone or your iPad?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
great,
yeah. So it's quite a funny, engaging way of getting a picture of have I got this person right, or there's a list of 10 primary characteristics of this individual, just so you can kind of say, am I about there? If you haven't, you can go back to those questions and change them until you're happy. Most people get it right first time and go, yeah, I've got him or her. And then after you've done that, there's some information, if you want to, about the individual, how they're motivated, a bit more colour around them, to giving you a bit more flavour to them, and why they do the things that they do. And then I Get You ask you to say, right, what exactly is it that you're trying to do with this person? Are you trying to manage them? Are you trying to manage a client relationship? Are you trying to sell to them? And then you choose one of those. And then it says, okay, well, let's imagine you're managing this person. What exactly do you want help with right now? Are you trying to give them feedback? Are you preparing for their appraisal? Are you going to open their appraisal? Are you going to follow up their appraisal? Are you going to coach them? Are you about to set objectives with them? And once you've selected that, it says, okay, well, here's some tips, bite-sized chunks, 6 bullet points. This is what you should do. Some people just need headlines, just need to sort of get in the zone. But if you want more, then you can delve deeper and you can get a little tutorial which says, this is how you should handle them, this is why you should do this is what you should definitely not do in this situation, because it would take the conversation exactly the wrong way.
Okay, so if I was a manager and I was going to have a difficult conversation with somebody, or I was preparing for a meeting, or I need to send them an email, I can literally go to this and it'll give me the tactics.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my language, tactics for
hints, tips.
Yeah, for dealing with that person.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so
It doesn't always deal with bad things.
No, so sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's good
giving
things
people
as well.
positive feedback. Some people aren't actually good at giving people good news as well as bad news. So
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so there are different characters,
Yep.
Phil. There's different spectrums of people. So you use the word determinator and use the word calculator, instantly in my head that conjures up different things. But I know you got a couple of examples of people in the public eye, Phil, that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah. Okay. Well, imagine that we profiled this person. There's someone in the public eye. They're an entrepreneur on the TV quite a lot. So this person, having profiled them, and I'll tell you, you can guess who they are when I've said it. They're saying the app is saying this person is direct, even blunt, very goal focused, very driven, competitive. They get things done, forceful, aggressive, impatient with slower people, strong-willed and opinionated. Who do you think? Who would that be? Who could that be?
It was either a Gordon Ramsay or an Alan Sugar type character by the sounds of it.
Exactly, Alan Sugar.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Alan Sugar, when profiled, it comes out as the tornado.
Okay.
Right. Now the point is that's so different to can be so different to other people. So for instance, Andy Murray, for instance.
Yeah.
So Andy Murray's a very different character, motivated by different things, and you can see different behaviours. Phil will tell you if you listen to Andy Murray on the TV and you turn the sound down, you actually don't know whether he's winning or losing.
Oh, okay.
When he's interviewed, yeah.
That's interesting.
So the characteristics of the individual is very different. So he's cautious.
Yeah.
Now Alan Sugar is not cautious. Makes informed, risk-free decisions. Now, Alan Sugar's very experienced. He makes more decisions by the gut. Andy Murray's probably a perfectionist. If you look at his approach to training and how much time he invests in training, that's to get it right so he can perform on. That's not something that you'd necessarily see Alan Sugar do. And there's some stuff about trust and sincerity about Andy Murray that he values. And I'm not sure sincerity is something that is really important to Alan Sugar. Respect might be important to him.
Yeah.
Very, very different. What makes them tick is very different.
So actually, those two in a business environment would be quite an interesting dynamic to listen to look at, because they potentially could frustrate each other quite a lot, couldn't they? Because they have a completely different style about them. The interesting thing about Andy Murray, and I listened to this or heard this on the television a couple of weeks ago. He's been raising money recently for a charity for one of his fellow players who's unfortunately suffering from leukemia and getting treatment for it.
Yeah.
Right.
And interviewing this guy on the television, he said the thing that Andy did when he found out that I was ill, he said he did what he always does, and he spent 3 hours on the internet that night researching the disease and finding out everything he possibly could about it, which fits perfectly with what you were just saying.
Yeah, absolutely. To find out more, to research, to understand what the situation is, so he knew. And that would give him clues about what to do next and what would be the most helpful thing to do.
Okay, so if I was Andy Murray and I had this wonderful I Get You tool in my phone and I was going for a meeting with Alan Sugar, presumably then it would give me some tips, some hints and techniques on how to deal with Mr. Sugar. Because if he was just himself, it might not necessarily get through, I guess.
Absolutely. So they are so different, that's the point. And with Alan Sugar, you need to be prepared to be direct. Bear in mind he's very competitive, so you can get on the wrong side of him quite easily. And in being direct, I think there's been concise as well. So keeping the points very clear and short and concise. And one of the things about Andy Murray is he's not very expressive, as we've alluded to, which would probably frustrate someone like Alan Sugar. So, for instance, if you were managing Alan Sugar, you'd want short meetings with him. You'd want to be direct and to the point with him.
Clear purpose.
Avoid competing with him. Although it's interesting because if you were his boss, he would probably treat you differently to people he manages.
Yeah.
And if you were managing Andy Murray, you have to be prepared to go into a lot more detail. Because of that perfectionist streak in Andy Murray, he's going to want to know the detail. Why? He's going to want to know. He wants to be able to trust what you're saying and trust the detail. So you've got to be patient enough to go into that with him. It's not that he's slow or anything. Far from it. It's the way he raced across that court. He could hardly. But it's about how people process that information. How in his case, whether he trusts it or not, and whether he trusts you or not. So, an appraisal, for instance, would be very, very different if you were appraising Alan Sugar compared to Andy Murray.
Okay, because I guess what I think I'm hearing is with Alan Sugar you could be more direct and say it as it is a bit more and be a little bit blunt and it wouldn't have the impact. But if you were direct and blunt with, say, Andy Murray, he'd want a bit more context and background behind it to believe you.
Yeah, and one of the pieces of advice for Andy Murray, if he was going to visit Alan Sugar, is don't be offended, don't take his bluntness personally. In his head, he's just saying it the way it is.
Yeah. Right.
He's not doing anything offensive. He's not. But to other people, that directness is cold. Is just too close to the knuckle.
Or it takes it too seriously. So there's interesting. Andy Murray was interviewed by Gary Richardson after the semi-final. I don't know if you remember this. And Gary Richardson, because Alex Ferguson, who's a determinator, by the way, Alex Ferguson was in the Royal Box or whatever. Gary Richardson said, so do you think you get the hairdryer treatment from your coach? Because obviously there were certain parts of the match where he dipped in his performance. And Andy Murray couldn't understand it. He thought, well, why I didn't do anything wrong. Why would I get a hairdryer treatment?
He was working his plan, wasn't he? And
the point is, to other people that might be a joke and they just take that as banter.
Yeah.
To Andy Murray, he's just taking it seriously. Well, why? Why would I get that treatment?
Yeah.
And this just shows the complete difference in the way that people actually communicate and absorb information and respond and react.
There will be businesses out there listening to the show tonight with 50 employees, 500, 5,000. So just talk me through why this would be important to a business and why would they want to use it. Can I come to you first, Phil, with that?
Yeah, I think number one, everyone's different. So whether you're in sales, whether you're in management, it's really helping people understand those differences. The knowing me, knowing you aha part, and it actually. Most of us learn most of what we do at work by trial and error. So it's trying something on the job. It's actually having a go at something and seeing what happens and learning from it afterwards. And by using something like this, you're going to give it some conscious thought before you actually do it, and you should be able to reduce the amount of error in that trial and error, which is going to be good from a point of view of productivity, sales results, whatever it may be, effectiveness, basically.
Okay. And I know, Lillian, you've started to demonstrate this and talk to customers of yours, because I know you've been going out there and showing how good. What sort of reaction have you had so far?
Overwhelmingly positive. We've had some amazing comments from our clients, breathtaking, and a couple of things. One, because of the way it's delivered, which is really new. Lots of people are talking about putting learning into a format that's more like social media. We've done it. And the second thing is, and it's fun and it's engaging, so it's not dull. It's fast moving and it's what people need. But also, they're amazed at the information that's in there and that they can access and how relevant it is. You can see people's eyes light up and go, "That's right.
Wow.
That's right." There are 350,000 words in this thing. It's not. There's a lot of substance to it.
It's not a little app, is it? It's a huge business tool. Yeah.
It is. And just to size that, if anybody out there has ever read The Hobbit, it's 3 of them. It's the first 3.5 books of Harry Potter.
Wow.
That's how
the content behind it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So
plus, on top of that, you've got all the videos and stuff like that.
Okay, and so you can pretty much get hints and tips, tactics for most situations. Then I guess on there, because there's that many words on there. There's not many situations that you come across from a managing or a selling perspective that you wouldn't be able to cover, I'm guessing.
No, I think that most of the ones that you'd come across on a day-to-day basis are there. Clearly, we're going to continue to add to those situations and cover different topics and stuff. But
okay. And so where do you see this going? Because this has all sorts of possibilities, doesn't it? It's very exciting because it's about people and people's everything, isn't it?
We started with the commercial application of a sort of not quite psychometric type of tool. It's not a psychometric, as Lillian said, but we started with the commercial world because that's what we know. But we actually think, why not have something which is just about relationships? I get you relationships.
Yeah.
So whether that be a relationship with your wife, your partner, dating, children. It's, as Lillian says, we tend to adapt we adapt naturally, but how good are we at it? Perhaps, well, we all know that. None of us, I don't think, here are experts on relationships or classify ourselves as that. We just get through. But a tool like this actually could make that more effective.
Absolutely. I got a feeling this is the start of a really exciting story, so we're going to get you on again, if that's okay, later in the year to talk about how it's going.
Delighted
But
to.
thank you very much for coming on the show this evening.
You're welcome.
Hope you've enjoyed it, and
Brilliant.
we'll look forward to seeing you next time.